We all know college admissions is getting increasingly competitive each and every day, but one way to get your foot ahead of the rest of the competition is in your college interviews. Now, not all colleges do interviews, but when it comes to top 20 and Ivy League schools, they do quite a bit of interviewing. And with 54,000 applicants to Harvard last year with an acceptance rate of 3.6%, you should be making the most of the opportunity that is available to you. So in this video, I'll be going over the most common college interview questions, how I'd answer them, and tips for virtual interviews that no one really knows to give you that edge above the competition. So let's get started. I'm Shinwoo, and for the past 2.5 years, my team of certified counselors from Johns Hopkins, Duke, and other top 30 schools have successfully consulted students into their dream schools with personalized guidance throughout the whole process. Now, these are some of the most common interview questions that you might be asked, which is why I'm going to cover every single one of them. Starting with, tell me about yourself. Now, I guarantee you that this question will pop up. Like, this is the interview question of all interview questions. But when answering this question, you shouldn't be rambling on about your life story. No, you quickly introduce yourself, say for example, like your name, where you're from, and what school you go to. And after that point, you need to do your best in selling yourself. The tell me about yourself isn't really what the question says. It's rather, why should we choose you as our next applicant? So whatever follows your introduction sentence should give them a solid reason as to why they should admit you over any other student. And if you don't know where to start, I'd say to use the statement, story, and continuation framework. Let me show you an example. I would call myself a very goal-oriented person. And as I spent the past 3 years being involved in both academic decathlon and FBLA, I've learned that the results we get are simply a reflection of the amount of time and effort that we put into our work. Being in a team setting a majority of the time, I've learned to not only do my end of the work, but also help out anyone who might be behind. I've applied this mindset and work ethic to academic decathlon, and our teams have placed consistently in the top 3 and have been awarded the Frank Wurzel Prize, which is awarded to the team with the highest combined score for literature, essay, and speech. I want to bring my work ethic and team playing nature to Yale University, especially to the Yale Student Academic Competitions team. Now, you can see in the very beginning of this paragraph that there is a clear statement. I would call myself a very goal-oriented person. And the following paragraph provides the story and, most importantly, the proof that you are who you say you are. Then the end of the answer should be a straight to the point statement about how you want to continue this at the specific school. Now, if I were to go through every single question with an example answer like this, it would literally take hours. But if you want me to actually do that down the line, let me know in the comments and be sure to subscribe so you don't miss it. And if you're interested in college consulting with our team of certified counselors and former readers of Johns Hopkins, Duke, and other top 30 schools, book a discovery call with the first link in the description. Now, the second potential question is, what do you love about your school? Now, here you could honestly mention anything you'd like, whether it's the competitive nature of your school or the location of the school, but regardless of what you say, make sure you keep it concise and potentially connect it back to the aspects of the school you're interviewing for. The biggest red flag here would be when you're trying to list as many reasons as you possibly can and rambling on. Do not do that. Number 3, if you could change one thing about your high school experience, what would it be? Everyone's high school experience is going to be different. So of course, everyone's response is going to be different as well. And to be honest, after reading hundreds of students' answers to this specific question, there isn't anything too special about their answer. They simply answered the question and gave a good reason as to why they'd change that aspect of their high school experience. Number 4, what on your resume are you most proud of? There are 2 ways to go about this. Number 1, simply explain the number 1 extracurricular activity that you have, or number 2, choose an extracurricular activity that has the most meaning to you. A student with research experience as their number 1 activity might instead mention how he cared after a sick mother, highlighting how he finds more significance in his title of son than student. Number 5, how did COVID affect your extracurriculars? Now, just like the previous tips, just keep this as concise as possible. You can mention 1 to maybe 3 things that were heavily impacted by COVID, but just like the second question, you do not want to be rambling on and listing out everything. Instead, it's simply stating the EC activities that were affected, using stories to keep the interview hooked. According to the Stanford Graduate School of Business, stories are remembered up to 22 times more than facts alone, so make sure you use stories within your answer. These interviewers are writing down notes before, during, and after your interview. You want to be in their minds as long as possible for them to write about the qualities that you want to show to the admissions officers. Number 6, what is your dream job? This one is pretty straightforward, but ideally this dream job of yours should align with your intended major, and if you possibly can, connect it with your current extracurriculars to explain that you want to continue your favorite activities within this dream job of yours. Number 7, tell me about a time you showed leadership. leadership. Okay, so this is a variation of a tell me about a time question. And the way to go about these is the STAR method: situation, task, action, and result. So if the interviewer asked you, tell me about a time you failed, a sample answer would be: situation. In my sophomore year of high school, I ran for a leadership position in a club I was passionate about. Task. My goal was to secure the position by presenting a unique initiative, but I didn't consider the club's overall needs or what other members valued in a leader. Action. I focused solely on my idea without emphasizing my qualifications or listening to what others wanted from a leader. Result. I lost the election, which was disappointing. However, I learned the importance of understanding and connecting with my audience. Obviously, this is a very shortened version, but this makes it really clear what the context was and how you navigated this situation to demonstrate how you deal with failure. When you try to prepare for these tell me about a time questions, it's easy to try and type a perfect answer, but I'd actually recommend not doing this. If you rehearse this too much and try to memorize everything by the word, you'll get too nervous during the interview and fail it. If you do want to write down some sample answers, write them in short bullet points so you don't rehearse word for word. Be yourself and be natural. Number 8 is actually pretty much the same in how to answer it, but within your answer to tell me about a time you failed should be a redeeming factor. Just like the previous example that I showed you, not only did I mention the failure, but something that I actually learned from that. If you failed at a part-time job, focus on what you did to make it right. If you and your team didn't do well at a competition, focus on the comeback and the work you guys put in to do better the next time around. If you talk about a moment of failure and completely ended there, well, the interviewer can't do much to help your case, can they? Number 9, XYZ is a great school, but why specifically do you want to attend? Now, this is pretty much a why us essay question in interview form, so take inspiration from your why us essay and incorporate it within your answer. You need to make sure you avoid any "this university has the most cutting edge technology and incredible history." Every top school has the most cutting edge technology and has extensive history. I want you to ask yourself, what makes them different that attracts you? Is it the values and ethos that they hold? Is it the specific professors that they have? Again, whatever it may be, try and tie it with your past extracurricular activities and how you want to continue that at your new school. Now, if you can't tie it with past extracurriculars, mention an interest or passion that you have and tie that with the school's specific resources or aspects and how you want to continue that there. Number 10. What's the most unusual thing on your resume? This question is pretty much self-explanatory. Just take some time when you prepare to think of just one thing that might seem unusual on your application. This could be the fact that you spend the majority of your time working rather than learning because you're trying to support your family financially, or a strange circumstance that you had to deal with throughout your high school career. Number 11, what are you looking forward to most in college? For this question, please do not be blunt. None of the "I want to party" or "I want to graduate and make hella money." Please, none of that. You can either be general in your answer and talk about how you're excited about integrating yourself with a new and diverse community, or tailor your answer to the specific resources they have and mention specific clubs or teams you're excited to join. Honestly, it's really not that hard to mess up. Just take the time to prepare. Interviews aren't supposed to be that challenging of a task. You just need the information that you're getting here in this video and put in the time on your own time to prepare your answers. And number 12, what do you think is the world's biggest problem? This question is asked to students just to get a grasp of how connected they are to social issues in the world, and it is crucial to know what's going on. Past students who've been accepted to top schools like Stanford, Brown, and Princeton give pretty general answers of AI, climate change, and racial tension within the US, so don't feel so pressured to bring up anything revolutionary. 13, assuming the interviewer is much older, what is one thing that my generation gets wrong about your generation? So this is something that the interviewer's generation gets wrong about you and your generation, just to make everything clear. And just like all the previous questions and sample answers, keep it short and keep it concise. Mentioning one major misunderstanding and diving deeper into it is much more impactful than simply listing out all the things they might get wrong about your generation. Just to give you an idea of a sample answer, students usually talk about how older generations think that Gen Z is lazy, but in reality, Gen Z realize the unfair working conditions and just won't put up with it. Number 14, what are you interested in and why? This is another essay question in interview form, and I'm sure you know it's just a why major question. Just like your essay should say, way. Mention related experiences within the world of your interest, and then a one-liner talking about why that interests you. Take the perspective of the interviewer. If one student confidently states the reasons as to why they're interested in what they mentioned with conviction, while the other just kind of rambles on and trying to, explain why it interests them, it's pretty clear who is sure of themselves. The second student seems unconfident and unsure, while the first student is sure of himself and has conviction. So give reason as to why you're interested with a single sentence. Now, number 15, the final boss. Do you have any questions for me? Now, if you answer this question with, nope, I don't have any questions, you're screwed. If you don't have any questions for the interviewer, it communicates to them that you're really not that interested. Instead, ask them these 3 questions. Number 1, if you were to relive your college experience at XYZ school, what would you do differently? And number 2, what are some must-have food spots around the school? And number 3, what opportunities outside of academics like clubs or events do you think students here value most? This gives the interviewer a chance to talk about themselves and their experience. And asking about the must-have food spots around the school opens the doors to more conversational interactions rather than a strictly interviewer to interviewee dynamic. And the last question shows the interest you have in both the school events as well as the student body. Now, some quick tips for virtual interviews that no one probably told you. First, wear proper clothes. Obviously, don't take it too seriously where you're wearing a suit and a tie, but at the same time, not too casual where you're still in your pajamas. Just an everyday outfit will be fine. But here's what can give you that edge. If you have any physical projects, posters, or whatever that can be showcased, put it in the background of your camera view. It's not there for you to point out and mention, but it indirectly communicates to the interviewer that this kid really is invested in their education and growth. And if this is an MIT interview, this is a must. That's it for this video. If you're interested in consulting, click the first link in the description and book a discovery call. If not, like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. Peace.